something was missing, 'cause I'm still brand new. And motivation's in the heart whenever I'm with you. So whatever you do, just remember motion. Good evening, everyone. It's Francis here. I'm not quite sure if you can hear me. If you can hear me, just say something in the chat. Just type in a hi or good evening or something. Okay. Okay, that's good. It sounds like you can hear me. Okay. Well, I mean, this evening, I am going to be going over a few things. Even as you can see on the screen, it says Generational Wealth Academy. That is the name of the trading group. We are, a trading and a training group. And I thought this evening to basically, start off by, perhaps sharing some of the things I have learned over the years with regards to taking signals. Now, this is going to be the very first training session, as it were, for the group. Over the years, I have been training people, but it hasn't been in an official capacity, as it were, like this. So it's good to have you here today. I do hope others will get to join us. I'll be telling you a bit more about myself and obviously about the service, even as we go along. So without much ado or further ado, let me just basically, go right into today's training. I'm sure some of you on here today already do trade. Perhaps you're able to analyze the chart yourself, or it could be that you take signals, from some signal provider. However, this would nevertheless be of much benefit to you, I believe. Okay, so let's basically just get cracking. When it comes to taking signals, over the years, well, as a matter of fact, let me tell you a bit about myself first. I first got introduced to trading in 2008. That is about 11 years now. Then it was, Forex. It was the stock market. It wasn't so much Forex, but over the last 5 years, I have been trading Forex. In the last 4, I've been trading it quite actively. When I started, trading, I didn't have a mentor. When I started, my Forex trading, I didn't have a proper mentor in that sense of the word. I was introduced by somebody I know to some seminar he organized, to teach people how to trade the stock market. And there was a 3-month mentorship after that. And I must say it was not, perhaps it was not exactly enough. It was not adequate because, there wasn't proper, a proper setup to, facilitate the mentorship program. However, I have since learned how not to mentor people. And obviously, that is one of the things I do apply, when it comes to my own mentorship. Like I say, I got introduced to trading, in 2008, and have been trading the Forex market actively for the last 4 years. Before Forex, I was a binary options trader, which is similar to Forex trading in that we analyze, the same charts, perhaps, a different kind of analysis, because, with binary options, even though it's similar, it's an entirely different ball game, as it were, as well. Because when you enter a trade with binary options, they tend to expire either within minutes or perhaps end of day. Some brokers obviously allow you to keep it for weeks, but most of the time it has to expire, within a certain time frame. Anyhow, let's stick to Forex. You know, I first wrote an article about taking signals, you know, from a trading, from a signal provider about 2017. That's about 2 years ago. I have obviously now modified it. When I wrote that article, it was written with binary options in mind, but I have now, as it were, modified it, you know, to make it, you know, suitable and usable by Forex traders. So enough of that. Let's go right into it. The very first thing to note when, you know, taking signals from a signal provider is to basically, I always advise you start off on demo. I always advise you start off on demo. You know, this is basically so you could get a feel of how the provider, you know, trades. You know, you want to start off on demo, not necessarily risking your hard-earned cash, as it were. You know, unless perhaps, you know, the signal provider has been recommended by somebody who knows them quite well, know that they have a high winning rate. You know, it's always advisable, you know, amongst other things, to start off with a demo account. Now, the second thing I would say, you know, is to know their trading schedule. To know their trading schedule. You know, it could be that the signal provider basically, you know, trades the London session, which obviously starts around 8, generally about 8 o'clock in the morning, Monday to Friday. Or it could be the US session, which starts maybe around 1:30 or 2 in the afternoon, UK time. Or perhaps the Asian session. Now, to be honest with you, I don't know if there's any trader that necessarily would commit to trading the Asian session because it is very quiet. You know, but you do want to know their schedule, you know, so that you do not miss out on their trades. On the other hand, it could be that they don't necessarily have a schedule, you know, because one thing I've come to realize, even as one who provided signals in the past and one who provides signals now, is that you can't, you don't necessarily have to fix a specific time of the day to trade unless you are live trading. Well, of course, if you're live trading and, you know, those who are taking signals from you can join in, then absolutely fine. Otherwise, I would usually say it's good to leave it open. You know, it's for those who are receiving the signals to know to perhaps, you know, have their phone on so that if there's an alert, a trade alert, they can get in the trade and, you know, obviously benefit from it if anything. You know, so in the sense, you want to know their schedule, which means I am saying now that an open schedule would be good. You know, because when I first started giving signals, you know, I joined a team of signal providers, you know, in a particular company based in the US, and later on another company in I think it's Singapore or so. You know, it was the case that, you know, all 4 or 5 signal providers basically came in the morning, you know, to give signals or to start, you know, work, as it were. And not everybody was available to actually take the signals because perhaps, you know, even though it was daytime in Europe, it was nighttime in the States or a different time in Asia. So not everybody was able to take it. And because they all of us more or less like started around London session, it was the case that, you know, we felt compelled as signal providers to provide a trade, to provide signals. You know, so in a sense, you know, those who were irresponsible as signal providers, you know, would send out signals even though they knew to some extent that it was not exactly a high probability trade. It was not exactly a high probability setup. And that obviously is one of the things I've learned over the time, or over the years, that it's not a good thing to actually have a fixed schedule providing signals in a sense, you know, because if the signal provider feels compelled to send out the signal, it means you could get a rubbish signal, as it were, you know, just because he has to do his job in a sense, and because people are expectant, as opposed to somebody, a signal provider or a signal service that sends out signals whenever there is a good setup. So that even if it means not sending out a signal in one day, now some might think it's strange. Some might think, oh, I mean, when you open the chart, a signal provider should be able to spot any good setup at any time. Not necessarily. I mean, when there are some signals I personally send out to those, a mentor or my students, that, I know they can handle. I would take some trades, but I would not send them out as signals because I know it's going to require some management. And I know because they are not competent enough to actually, manage those trades, it will be risky to actually send it out to them. So in a sense, what I'm saying is not every signal should go out, from the signal provider. If he wants to trade some of it himself or herself, he should do that. But it's for you to know, their trading schedule or know when they send out signals. Okay, let's go to number 3. Okay, now it says take all the trades given by the signal provider unless you know otherwise. Now, this is very important. Well, all I'm going to say today about signals and things to note, I would say are important, but this one also is important in that you cannot pick and choose what signals to take. If the signal service is sending out 10 signals in a day, 5 signals in a day, or even 2 signals in a day, you want to, as much as possible, take all of those signals. Because what you do not want is to end up, taking only the losing signals, whereby you miss out on the winning signals because for some reason you thought, this is not a good setup. This is not going to be a good trade. Or perhaps you are thinking, I now have less I now have less trading capital. Let me just, choose a few of the signals to take. You do not want to end up choosing the losing trades or losing signals. So as much as possible, take all the trades. Now, the thing is, if you are getting a signal, if you're taking signals from, a provider you trust, because in the first place, I suppose you shouldn't take signals from someone you do not trust or know, or someone that has not been recommended. But if you have chosen or decided to take signals from them, as much as possible, take all their signals. Very, very important. Now I say there, unless you know otherwise, in a sense, unless it is the case that, you do know, something about trading, you are able to analyze the chart yourself, and you see a setup, even though a signal has been provided, you are there thinking, this is not a good setup. I'll miss this. I'll miss this one. Then that is fine. I say that because even as one who is an experienced trader, I have at some point in the past, taking signals from people, even though I knew how to trade. Perhaps it was just the case that it was a time in my life when I was very busy with a whole lot of things, with family and work and everything else, or business and everything else. I could not really sit down to analyze the chart, myself. So I would decide, okay, fine, I'll take a signal. I'll take signals from, this person I know. But nevertheless, even though I was busy, I suppose it's the trader in me, the diligent trader in me. When a signal was sent out, I would still have a glance at the chart myself. And if I thought the setup was not right, I would perhaps spot it immediately and think to myself, no, I think I'll give this a miss. I'll take the other trades, I'll take the other signals, but give that particular one a miss because I didn't quite, agree with, the bias of the provider. So unless you know otherwise, take all the trades provided by the signal provider, just trust them and go with it. Okay. Now let's consider some other things. Number 4 thing to note, it says after the signal provider gives the trade details, try as much as possible to stick to the entry price. And by that I mean, if for instance they give a trade as a pending order, Well, okay, if it's a pending order, as a matter of fact, even if it's a trade that is that comes as a market execution, you want to stick as much as possible. You want to enter the trade as close as possible to the entry price. Because if the price has if the price has moved away from the entry given, you do not want to chase the price, because if it's a scalp, for instance, maybe you are going for 10 pips. If it's a scalp and the price has moved, then obviously it means you are now going to be chasing, you're going to be missing out on perhaps 3, 4, 5 pips, and the stop loss obviously still, as it were, remains the same, because after all, you are taking a signal, you're taking trades from a signal provider. You might not know where else to put the stop loss other than what has been provided or given to you by the signal provider. So you do not want to jump in the trade and keep the same stop loss and take profit, whereas the entry price is far from what was provided. So as much as possible, stick to the entry price. But obviously, that is why it's also good, to have, a signal, to go with a signal service that not only provides or gives trades and market execution, but also trades that come as pending orders. Because most of the time you find that if a pending order is given, everybody has time to get in the trade, even though a pending order is given perhaps at 8 o'clock, your time, the trade might not trigger for another 1, 2, or even 3 hours or longer. So in a sense, if it's a pending order, it's usually very good, unless perhaps obviously you are having a live trading session with the provider, and you can jump in at market execution. So as much as possible, after the trade details have been given, enter to or stick to the entry price. Okay, now let's move on. This one says, number 5, it says, don't overexpose your capital. That is, don't overexpose. I suppose that should be over leverage. Don't over leverage your trading capital. The question that should come to mind is, what percentage should I stake in this trade? Because obviously, if you're going to be entering a number of trades, you want to know how much percentage of your capital to stake in the trade. It could be, even as advised by the professionals out there, that you use anything between 1 to 2% of your trading capital. So if, for instance, your trading capital is £5,000, £1,000, or whatever it is, let each trade, as it were, use 1 to 2%, for the trade. I, as one who provides, trade ideas and signals, I would, obviously, say, depending on the trade, use 2%. Now, some people would say, oh, 1% is too small. I mean, if I'm going to grow my account using 1% of my account, I will die a pauper. Well, that obviously is something you need to figure out and perhaps discuss with your signal provider if you are new to trading, or at least perhaps you could use a trading software, a trading resource like myfxbook.com. They basically help you work out your position size and so forth, so that you have an idea of how much you're going to be staking, the lot size, the stop loss, and so forth, so that you do not over leverage your trading account. Now, let's move on quickly. Number 6, this is also very important, as though everything I'm saying is not important. Now, it says, learn the basics of technical analysis. Learn the basics of technical analysis. Like I had said earlier on, in times past, when I have taken signals from various individuals or signal services, because I had an idea of technical analysis, I could tell which trade to skip and which one to go with. So it's important, for you to learn, the basics at least of technical analysis, and obviously progress into, more complex analysis. I always advise that you do not want to start off, taking signals from a signal service with the intention of staying like that for the whole of your trading life. Well, in the sense, it wouldn't be exactly a trading life or a trading career if you're going to be taking signals all through. So I would say to start off like this, because the whole idea, for people doing this usually is to begin to earn some money while they are learning. So you want to earn while you learn. You don't want to just, keep on, taking signals. You want to begin to move on to the next stage. And obviously that is to learn how to trade yourself. Now, number 7 thing you should know that would help you, profit from taking signals is to use regulated or recommended brokers. Regulated or recommended brokers. Regulated, obviously, by the authorities of the land. Preferably, brokers that are regulated in your own home country. Now, or at least brokers that are regulated in countries where the regulation, the regulatory authorities are quite strict or firm, so that brokers, as it were, do not, muck about. Now, I would say over the years, as a, a trader, I've known of various brokers who have, fiddled or who play games, who manipulate trades and so forth. But obviously, those that are regulated, because they know they could be penalized or they could lose their regulation, their license, they usually stick to the rules as much as possible. So it's advisable to always use regulated or recommended brokers. Now, I use the word recommended there, because there are some brokers who are relatively new to the game, relatively new to the market, and they are seeking regulation from various governmental bodies, and for some reason have not got it yet, because obviously, various nations of the world, some nations of the world are becoming very strict with regards to forex brokers, because it seems these days that if you have, a certain number of dollars, you're able to start a trading brokerage. So nations are quite, firm now, with regards to what they ask for that will qualify you, for their license. So unless, the broker is recommended, because there are some brokers out there that are widely known, even though they don't really have any regulation from any country or any government or government of any country, they are very well known, and obviously, because they've been in business for some time, you would believe or perhaps feel that they'll want to, play the game right, so that they can secure a license. I mean, I would think it's rather silly, of anybody to start a business, get it off the ground and established, only for things now to, be messed up by just one silly, act of negligence or something of that nature. So you want to use regulated brokers, and it says there on your screen, find out more about the broker. In a sense, you want to know what assets they have, on, they allow, their platform allows you trade. You want to know if they allow you trade, things like cryptocurrencies and indices, as well as even stocks, because you find that a whole number of forex, brokers these days, they do not just, do forex, they also do, cryptos and indices and stocks and so forth. So you want to find out, because if it is the case that, your signal provider, gives signals for any of all those assets, and if your broker does not, allow you to trade them, then obviously it means you will not be able to take all their trades, all the signals provided, even as I did say in one of the points earlier on. You want to be able to take all the trades, and obviously, if you're going with any broker, you want to know what assets they offer. You want to know things like the spread. You want to know, the things like, the pip spread. Now, if, for instance, you are scalping, if your signal provider, does a lot of scalping, for maybe things like 10 pips. If the spread, on the broker's platform tends to be 2, 3, and so forth, then obviously you're going to be losing out. You're not going to be getting as much as you ought to. So you want to ask and find out things like that, and just to move on, to basically bring this to a close. I'm going to be allowing you have a Q&A session. We're going to be having a Q&A session, as it were, after this, whereby you could ask your questions. But just to bring this segment to a close, I would say, if you need more clarification on any of the things we've talked about or have mentioned today, feel free to contact us on Telegram. You can join our Telegram group, by simply downloading the Telegram app if you don't have it, either on your phone and or on your desktop. For those of you who don't know Telegram is similar to WhatsApp, except that it has advantages over WhatsApp. So feel free to join us on Telegram, where I provide some free mentorship. I also provide them trade ideas and signals even on there. Obviously, limited signals and limited mentorship, as we do have a paid service. If you'd want to find out more about our paid service, it basically starts at currently about £35 per month, where we provide mentorship and signals and so forth. And obviously, we provide some free indicators, and also trading my auto trader, which has been doing very well. I mean, I have been showing screenshots of the results lately, just in case you are a busy person, you don't have much time to trade yourself, and you want an auto trader to trade for you. You get that as part of the £35 per month fee which you pay. So that is the link if you want to join our Telegram group, where you can actually ask for me, Francis. I believe I'm perhaps the only Francis there at the moment. So you could ask for Francis, or at least the admin, for more details and clarifications of what you might want to know. So at this point, I'm going to be stopping the recording, and let it be open for question and answer session. So I'll be coming back. You might want to go grab a drink at this time. I'm certainly going to have a sip of my drink here, and I'll be ready to take questions from you. Okay.